welcome to another video. In today's video I'm going to talk about my UK trip and all the fun that we had. In May this year, so 2024, May this year, my dad, my sister, her husband and her daughter and I, there was 5 of us, we all went on a trip to the UK. My dad and I stayed 5 weeks and my sister and her family stayed for 4 weeks because Dad and I went and visited some friends after my sister flew home. We had an amazing time and we packed so much into that holiday. If you're one of my personal friends on Facebook, then you would have seen the trip that we had, and I tried to upload as many photos as I could because everyone kept saying, how's your trip? So I just put them all onto Facebook so that people could just view them at their own leisure. It was crazy. I don't know if you know England at all. I was born there. I was born in Kent. If you know Kent at all, I was born in Chatham Hospital, and moved to Australia when I was 11. So my family came over, obviously my dad, mum and dad, and my sister, she was about 8 when we moved over. So we went back and, you know, did the usual flight. The flight's like 24 hours. We flew via Singapore and had about a 3-hour stop there, and then flew on to London and went to Heathrow Airport. So our first day was spent in Guildford. I got to meet up with my lovely friend Zoe. Zoe, that feels so long ago that we met up. We didn't meet up for long because it was literally the day I landed. It was in the afternoon. I landed at about 5:30 in the morning. So by the afternoon I was a bit delirious. Zoe, hopefully I made some sort of sense. I was so tired from such a huge 24 hours. It's only 24 hours, but it feels longer when you're flying from Australia all the way over to England. So it was lovely to catch up with Zoe, chatted and we laughed, and a lot of fun. And I think Zoe was flying out to America the next day or the day after, so she was in a rush too, like we all had things going on. But great to catch up and say hi again in person instead of just online. From Guildford, which is not too far from the airport, travelled down to the Isle of Wight, which is a little tiny island off the bottom of England. And as kids, my family, and we used to take our cousins with us, we used to go down there. I'm going to say it was every Easter holiday. I don't actually remember what school holiday it was, but I'm going to say Easter. My sister probably remembers, and if she watches this, she might comment. I don't know. She probably doesn't even watch my videos. Yeah, so we went down to Isle of Wight and we stayed there, I'm going to say 5 days. It was all such a blur. It was so much fun. So much fun. But it's all a bit of a blur because we did so much stuff. So yeah, we went to Isle of Wight, we went to Sandown. I don't know if you've been to Isle of Wight and been to Sandown. It is so run down. I was actually quite shocked on how run down it was. But we went down there and we had a lovely day. It was freezing cold. England, you can put on some crazy weather. It is so cold. We had all the layers on. I had like 2 puffer jackets on and scarf, and I had this blue hat, which you'll probably see in some of the photos that I'm putting on. Blue hat with pom-poms, and I pretty much lived in that for most of my trip in England, apart from in London, because London had some nice weather finally. But yeah, we did the Isle of Wight. We went to the Donkey Sanctuary.
They're definitely tempted now. They're all around him. Yeah. Not all of them.
We went to the miniature village, which I'm going to put photos on the screen. Of course, my sister and I went there when we were kids, so we had all these photos from when we were kids. So we were trying to reenact the photos from, I don't know, in these photos I look about, I'm going to say about 7 or 8. I don't look very old in the photos, and some of them even younger. And we tried to recreate those. We also went, I don't know what order these all happened in again, it's just a blur. We also went to Blackgang Chine, which is kind of like, I want to say theme park, but not a theme park. So things that you can climb on and interact with. There's like slides, and my niece, she was 5 and she turned 6 when we were over there. My niece had an absolute blast at this place because you could climb on things and there were big slides. It spoke to you and played music and stuff like that. So kind of interactive type stuff. I don't know how to explain it. Have you ever been to Black Gang Chine? How would you explain that place? It's really cool. And there was actually a lot of stuff still there from when my sister and I were kids. I'm talking like, I'm 46. 40 years ago, there was stuff still there that was there 40 years ago. It just had like a cone of paint. And when you see what I'm talking about, you'll be like, wow, how is that still there? There were quite a few things that weren't there. We'd had photos that we tried to recreate and we just couldn't find the thing that we were trying to recreate with. There was quite a lot of stuff still there, which was really cool because you could totally reminisce about the old days. What else did we do in the Isle of Wight? I've got my phone here and this is where all my photos are, so I'm just gonna have a quick look through. My sister and her husband and their daughter, they went on, what was it called? I cannot remember what it was called. I'm gonna ask my sister what it was called and then I'll put it on the screen. They went on this chairlift. It was like something out of 1970s, 1980s, had absolutely no protection. I'm the eldest child, so I have to do, I have to do the right thing and I have to follow all the rules and I don't know, I have to look after people because I'm the eldest. I don't know. And they went on this my sister, she's not the eldest, she's the youngest. So she's just like, I don't care. She'll just do anything. She's not scared. They got on this chairlift and I was just like, I can't get on that. I literally can't get on. I feel like I may die if I go on that. It goes high in the air and then it goes over a cliff down to a beach. No. And it was a very windy day and it was really cold. And I was just like, no, I don't want to go on it. So my dad and I stayed behind and we just kind of like hung around and sat on the park benches and stuff that were there. And then they went off. But I'll put a photo on of, I want to say pinnacles. I don't think that's right. I think that's my editing software. But it was something like that. Shamble? No, it wasn't that. I don't know. I can't remember. I'll put the thing on the screen. So that was crazy. We also went to like a, I don't know what you call them. I don't even know what they're called here. Like a big shop, but has lots and lots of games in it that you can play. Like you can like throw the basketball in the hoop and get all the points and things like that. I wasn't interested in those. I was interested in this other thing. Again, I'll put a photo on the screen. I don't really know what it's called, but there is a game out on TV called Tipping Point, and I love it because it reminds me of being a kid of this game that we used to play. And it was I think it was a 2p machine, like a 2p machine, so it was really cheap. And I just got £2 and went and cashed it in, got loads of 2p coins, and you just put them in. So I was showing my niece who's 5, and she was... She was going crazy. She just had to get the coins to fall down. Once you see the photo, you'll know what I'm talking about. I think I did a video too, so I'll put that on there. She's like, I need more, Auntie Claire, I need more money, I need more money. We totally did because it cost us probably £5 to have an absolute blast. Probably half an hour for £5. So, it's pretty cheap fun. The place we stayed in was absolutely beautiful. It was in the countryside. I mean, the whole of the Isle of Wight is pretty much the countryside. Even the big towns aren't even really big. And stayed in this beautiful Airbnb, enough room for all 5 of us to get our own bedrooms, which was lovely. We pretty much had our own bedrooms the entire time. I shared with my niece a couple of times, which was so much fun. She thought it was great. She was like, we're roomies, Auntie Claire, we're roomies. She's 5. She just cracks me up. And she thought it was great. And we would sit there and read stories and watch little videos and then go to sleep. And, her mum and dad would come in and be like, aren't you 2 asleep yet? I don't know who was having more fun, me or Bonnie, asleep in the same room. We did lots of driving over the Isle of Wight, which, if you're an Australian, the Isle of Wight is tiny and like in half a day, not even half the day, you can drive from one side to the other. It is tiny. I actually looked it up and this island is so small. We also saw the red squirrels. They were so cute. Now I learnt something when I was in the Isle of Wight because the Airbnb we stayed at was next door. It was on the same property, and the house next door was the owners of the Airbnb. They were absolutely lovely. Like, they didn't interfere whatsoever. They were so lovely when we turned up and nothing was a problem. But I learnt from them that the red squirrels are the native squirrels to the UK, and the grey squirrels, which being English I thought were just part of England, they are actually introduced. They're an introduced species from America. This is what they told me. Don't yell at me if it's wrong. All my life, I just thought that grey squirrels were just English, but they're not. They are an introduced species, and apparently they take the nests, or no, squirrels don't build nests. What do they build? They don't build burrows. They live in trees. What's that called? Hollow? I don't know. They live in a tree, and apparently the grey squirrels take the nesting spots. We'll just say nesting spots from the red squirrels. So there's no red squirrels that I know of left in England. That's what the lady said. She doesn't think they're left in England. I think there may be some in Scotland, but they're mostly in the Isle of Wight, and because it's an island, they can exclude any of the grey squirrels, and if any grey squirrels turn up, they get them and send them back to the mainland. So I thought that was really interesting, and we went to this little, it was like a really small, short boardwalk, and then there was this little kind of timber shed house, tiny thing that you could hide in and then watch the squirrels so they didn't know you were there. But we were just walking along, and they were just running in front of us, and you can feed them peanuts. They sell particular peanuts for birds and squirrels, and I don't know. Again, I don't know who was having more fun, me or my 5-year-old niece. We were all so excited to see these squirrels because they were so, so cute. We had some lovely food. Everywhere we went, we pretty much had really good food. I cannot think of anywhere that we didn't have nice food. So that was really good. Nice one, England. We saw beautiful birds that we'd never seen before. We saw pheasants. Now, I'm pretty sure Australia has pheasants. I've never seen one. But maybe English pheasants are different to Australian pheasants. I don't even know. I don't know. I'm not that into birds. But we saw some beautiful birds when we were in England. It was very exciting. I'm just going through my photos here. We also saw some very, very rough coastlines. Oh my goodness. Your waves over there, England, are very cranky. So just looking at my photos, I'm like, oh, I've taken photos of narrow streets. Little did I know we were going to York, and narrow streets were so narrow. So I crocheted a blanket whilst I was in England, and bought some yarn and everything whilst I was in England to put into the blanket. It is a blanket for my niece, but I'm going to do a separate video for that one. So if you look on the screen now, I'm going to say it's this side. It's probably going to be the other side. I never remember which side it's on. And I haven't filmed for a very long time, so I've totally forgot. There's going to be a video pop up there. It'll also be at the end of this video as a suggestion to watch. And if I remember, I will put the link in the description box so you can go and check out that video of the blanket that I was making for my niece. I'm still making it. It's literally in front of me, and I've got some yarn as well. I do have some other yarn that I bought. I didn't go too crazy, actually, because these days you can buy most of it online. So I just bought a couple of bits, like literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls of yarn for myself. And I didn't see, I like hand-dyed yarn. I didn't see any in any shops. Lots of the shop owners that I spoke to said that they can't sell it. People don't want to buy it, and therefore most of the hand-dyed yarn is like online and everything. So I was quite surprised at that. So after the Isle of Wight, we were there for about 5 days. We went back over to the mainland and across to Rye. I have a friend that lives there. Hi Joe, if you're watching, and family. I have a friend that lives there and haven't seen her for quite a number of years. Might be 5 years, might be longer. We grew up, when we were kids, we grew up living almost across the street from each other. She was a couple of houses up, but in the same street, and, you know, grew up together when we lived in England, and we still stay in touch. Joe, it's mostly you that stays in touch, and I thank you for doing that, because I still got a friend who we've known for like, what, 40 years? Yeah, so we caught up with Joe. We had a lovely dinner at I don't know if it was an Italian restaurant, but it definitely had Italian food. What did I have? I cannot remember. Can't remember, but I just remember the food there was amazing. Service was fantastic. We went there and we stayed there for a couple of days, and that was a really interesting place too. Being Australian, you don't see old things. Australia's like 200 years old, like settlement-wise, ish, 200 years old. And we see things going back to like 17 something or 18 something. we don't see things that start with like 1400s, 1500s. So it was crazy to see dates like that. We went to this little castle. Like, there was a date from 15 something. An Australian brain, I class myself as Australian now. An Australian brain, it's very hard to comprehend. As you can see, I can't even talk about it. It's just weird that it starts that early. Rye, we stayed there for 2 nights, and from Rye we made our journey up to King's Lynn. We wanted ultimately to head to York, but from Rye to York we thought would be too much of a big drive, and we had Bonnie in the car, and where she lives, she kind of lives in the city, so she's in the country, but she's like in the mountains, but it's bigger than a town, but it's not as big as a city. So she's used to short drives mostly. So we just thought that driving, I can't remember how much it was, but driving all that way, and plus you want to stop for lunch and stuff like that, we thought we'd break it up. So we stayed in King's Lynn. I personally had never been there before, and I'd never been to Rye either. Have I? No, I haven't, no. And then, so we stopped at King's Lynn. Dad said that was a really nice place, so we decided to stop there. So on the way, we stopped at a park, which we used to go to as kids. We ate so much ice cream, thanks to my niece. Not complaining. We ate so much ice cream, and I think we had ice cream in every single town more than once. So after King's Lynn, I can't really remember much about King's Lynn. Why can't I remember much about it? Where we stayed though, I do remember it was this little, it was called something yard. It was like down this little like alleyway, and then secluded from the main street, which was really lovely. And I reckon it took like less than 5 minutes to walk to the main street. It had lots of lovely shops. We walked around there. I think we had that as a rest day, because if you've ever done a overseas trip, the first 4 days of your trip, you don't know your own name because you are so tired. So we hit the ground running on day 1. No, day 2. We hit the ground running, so we were pretty exhausted. I've got photos of ice cream and seagulls. And that's pretty much King's Lynn offered. I'm sure there was more, and if I remember, I'll put some stuff on the screen. But yeah, that's all I've got photos of, seagulls and ice cream. Next up on our trip was up to York. If you've ever been to York, you already know that it's amazing. It was the coolest place. Literally, it was freezing cold as well. But we saw so many cool things. They have this wall around York that I'm sure there's a history lesson here. Don't know the name of it, don't know the reason for it, but I'm sure it protected York at one stage because it used to go all the way around. There's only sections of it left now, but you can still walk around it, which is really cool. Like, I thought that was awesome. Like, I felt like I was, I don't know, not in a battle, but because you climbed up really kind of high, so you're looking down on streets and stuff, and I thought that was really cool. And it's just there, it's still there. It's unbelievable. The York buildings, they were really cool. They were just so old. We knew the main street and the shops and everything there off by hand because we were there for 7 days, and I think if we'd stayed any shorter than that, then it wouldn't have been enough because there was plenty to do in York. We went to, I'm just looking at my photos, and we went to plenty of cathedrals. We went to the York Minster. Amazing. What an amazing building. The York Minster, that was really fun. Got to catch up with my cousin. Haven't seen my cousin in about 20 years. And my sister's seen my cousin like a few years back, but I wasn't there. I didn't go on that trip. And I haven't seen him for quite some time. So it was so lovely for all of us to catch up again. And he was there for 2 days, and we kind of spent parts of each day with him. So, you know, having lunch, walking around, being tourists, because he had actually never been to York either. So yeah, it was fun for him too. If you've been to York, you've probably been to the Shambles. The Shambles is such a narrow street, tiny street that literally you could fit maybe a little horse and cart down. Like, you wouldn't fit a car down it. It's so tiny, and it was the cutest thing ever. It was just amazing. When we went to York, there was a park near the museum. So if you've ever been to York, the museum that's there, I don't know what it's called. There's a museum and it's in a park. It's got a beautiful park around it. There was this gentleman with about 5 birds. They were owls and eagles and maybe hawks. Again, what did I say? I'm not up on my birds. But he was talking about them, so of course we were just standing around listening, and my niece, and we all thought it was really cool. He was like, putting them on his arm and talking about them and stuff. And as he was talking, he said, you were allowed to hold these birds. So of course my niece said, Mum, can I hold one of the birds? And there was this little bird. It was an owl. And I swear, it was probably this high. It was so tiny. And so I'm thinking my niece is going to go for the little owl. And I said, which bird are you going to hold? So there was probably, I think there was 3 owls and then 2 eagles, or maybe 1 eagle and 1 hawk. So there was like small, medium, large of the owls. The big owl was quite big. And again, the little one was tiny. So my niece goes, I'm going to hold that one over there, which was quite big for her. And I was like, wow, you're so brave. And she goes, which one are you going to hold, Auntie Claire? So in my head, I'm holding a small bird. And I said, oh, I don't know. And she said, you should hold the big one. And I went, yes, I should. Now, this holiday, I promised myself I would do things I wouldn't normally do and have as much fun as possible within the 5 weeks that we were there. And I did. And I went, you know what? I'm going to hold the big one. Now, the big one was very big. He did tell me what sort of eagle it was. If I can remember, I will put it on the screen. I mean, my niece was fantastic. She took direction, like the guy's like, you got to stand still, don't make any noises, don't start screaming whilst you're holding the bird, put your hand out, do this, do that. And she was great. She took direction so well, and she was smiling the entire time. So then it was my turn, and he goes to get the bird. So the bird was just sitting on this little tiny perch on the ground. So it didn't look that big. So he goes over to get the bird. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, beep. This bird is massive. What am I doing? Seriously, this thing is going to peck my eyes out. And anyway, it was too late. Old mate was walking towards me with his bird. And because I had the glove and everything on already. And I was like, well, here we go. I love you, everybody. In case I don't survive. It was amazing. It was so cool. I was holding my breath. I was totally anxious, but at the same time thinking, this is amazing. This is the best day of my life. We also went to the Viking... Was it Viking? I think it was the Viking Museum. That was heaps of fun. Tour thing that you could do, so that was really cool. And my niece thought that was great. So while staying at York, we went up to Whitby. If you don't know where Whitby is, it's north of York. It's on the coast. The day we went, it was freezing cold and very windy. But the sun was out, so we were trying to make the most of it. So my sister likes, I'm probably going to say this wrong, but Bram Stoker's Dracula. Is that how you say it? And she loves the book and everything. So she wanted to go up there because one of the churches or cathedrals, I'm not quite sure what it was. Hang on, there's a photo here. No, sorry, it was an abbey. Whitby Abbey was where the story was written. It was based around that. So we went for a drive, not too far, about an hour away, and went for a drive and went up there. The wind, I can't explain it. It was the most powerful wind I've ever felt. I mean, I've never experienced a tornado or a hurricane. Just standing in the wind, oh my goodness. The abbey itself was absolutely stunning. As you'll see from the photos, there wasn't much left, probably because it's blown away down the hill. And I think it was actually bombed in a war, so that probably explains a lot. Most of it wasn't there, but the parts that were there, they were really cool. So our next stop was Hereford. Actually, my sister and her family stayed in Birmingham for a night to see one of her friends, and then my dad and I, we went on to my auntie's place. That was lovely to see her. She's 95, almost 95. She's 95? On the 4th of July, so in about a week. She is 95. What? She's still sprightly, still gets around. She's an amazing woman. I can only wish to just be like her and get to her age and be that fit. So I stayed the night, my dad and I stayed the night with her, and then my sister and family came over the next day and we spent some time with her. And then we went on to the Airbnb that we had in Hereford. So Hereford, Airbnb, we were about 10 minutes out of town. A garden was gorgeous, loads of room for Bonnie to run around and myself to run around. There were squirrels in the garden, which was really cool, and lots of birds, so we were feeding them every day. Like seriously, after we left, they would have had to go on a diet because they had unlimited supply of bird food and squirrel food. So we went up there, we went to parks. Again, can't remember the name of the parks. If you know any of the parks up in Hereford, it was the one with the Gruffalo statues and things. Don't know the name of it. My sister will know. My sister remembers all the things and I forget all the things. So that was a fantastic time up there. And then after Hereford, we drove down to London, and I think we stayed 5 days in Hereford. One of the days I just stayed home because that was the only day in 5 weeks I had a rest. All of us were knackered. All of us was just so knackered. And I just was like, I'm feeling a bit off. I just want to stay home. You guys go out and I'll just be a literal blob and just sit on my phone and watch videos most of the day until they got home for dinner. So after Hereford, it was London, and my sister and family went and stayed in a hotel in... Told you I had a bad memory. So bad. Oh gosh, if someone said the name, I'd know it straight away. But they stayed there, and then my dad and I caught the train to Bexley Heath, if you know around London at all, just out of London. Went to Bexley Heath, and that's where my auntie lives, and we stayed there, I think, I'm going to guess and say about 8 days, but 4 of those days, Dad and I went to Lanzarote to meet up with his friend and his wife and spend some time with them. We were there for 4 days. Lanzarote, I've been there before. It's absolutely gorgeous. The weather was so nice. I was in singlets and just really light cotton pants, and it was so lovely after being so cold in England. When we got to London, we had a couple of cold, rainy days, but the rest of the weather was quite pleasant. It was just t-shirt and jean weather. T-shirt and jeans. So that was quite nice after being so cold in York and in Hereford. It was very cold. Being an Aussie, not used to it being that cold. But we had all the jackets and all the scarves and hats. London was amazing. It was so good to spend time with my cousins and my auntie. We just kind of like did day trips, went to Greenwich Park. We always go to Greenwich Park when we go to England because, again, when we were kids, we always used to go there. Dad has memories from there. He lived in London. He was born in London. So was my mum. So lots of memories around the area. My sister had this thing that she wanted to go to London and see stretchers that they used in the war. The handles that you held on to were metal, so they kept those and made fences out of them. Dad and I. He said, I know exactly where they are. They used to be where I used to grow up. So we go on this walk. It was quite a long walk. We found them. He's like, I'm just trying to remember, whereabouts I used to live, because I didn't know he'd lived in this place. So I'm thinking maybe he was really young when he lived there. He's like, I'm just going to have to go by memory and try and figure out what street to go down. Like, we went down all these streets. But we finally found it, and it was great. It was like, wow, that fence has been there for so long. So there was that. We went to the Cutty Sark. I didn't go inside the Cutty Sark because I have done that before, being English, and I think this is like my 4th time back to England. I've done a lot of the tourist stuff. So I've done the Tower of London, all the things that you do there. I've done Tower Bridge. Again, I'm going to insert some photos. I've done Tower Bridge, and I wasn't going to go. And my auntie, my 95-year-old auntie Hazel, she said, your grandfather, so it would have been her father and my mum's father, is in the exhibition that is in Tower Bridge. And I was like, oh, okay. So I was expecting just this little photo. And she's like, no, it's not a little photo. Like, as I thought, a little photo with some information. She goes, no, it's not a little photo, it's a big photo. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. So my sister they went to London, and then we went to my auntie's place. We separated. She went there a couple of days after they got there. And she sent me a photo. Now, it wasn't a big photo. It was like a giant poster size, like massive photo. And she sent it to me, and I was like, I have to go and see it. If it was just this little photo with some information, I wouldn't have bothered. I just said to Dad, look, we've been there, we've been to London, it smells, there's lots of people. I'm from the countryside, I'm not used to people, especially that amount. But I said, I have to go there. So we can catch a bus from my auntie's place into London because she's so close. And we went, and it was amazing. The photo was bigger than life size. It was so cool to see. Yeah, very cool. Very emotional day that was. I don't know why. I think because there was this bigger than life-size photo of my grandfather, and it almost made him come to life. I don't know, it was strange. But yeah, a little bit emotional for myself and my dad, because my dad knew him. It was his father-in-law. Father-in-law? Yes, father-in-law. So I think that's pretty much our trip. Yeah, Lanzarote was amazing. It's a volcanic island if you've never been there or never even heard of it. It's off the west coast of Africa, and it is in the Canary Islands. I think there's about 5 of the Canary Islands. We also went over to Hereford, which is another island that's just there. Caught a ferry across, so that was really another island. I also did the volcano tour in Lanzarote, which was amazing. Tick it off the bucket list. I've been on a volcano. It was not active, but but the ground was really hot and you could see steam and stuff, so that was very, very cool. One of the highlights of my trip. I thought that was amazing. So we ate all the food that you would eat when you go to overseas. That was one of my things. Eat all the food that they eat, rather than going, oh, I feel like something that I could get in Australia. I wanted to eat all the food, all the scones and cream, all the Spanish food. So yeah, it was really, really good. So I've got some yarn. I've literally got 5 balls of yarn. I thought I had bought more. Apparently I was very well behaved. And then I bought some yarn for my niece's blanket. But again, like I said, that will be in a different video. So I got 3 balls of this one. This is King Cole Drifter Super Soft Double Knit. And check out the colours. Aren't they beautiful? And this is a double knit, or a number 3 yarn, and it's 25% cotton, 6% wool, and then 69% acrylic. 100 grams, 300 meters, 329 yards. So I've got 3 of those, and then 2 of this color, same yarn. And that's about it. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope you enjoyed this little trip to England with me. Till next time, happy crochet. Bye.